Okay, so this one, man, I wasn't quite sure I was gonna get to see it, but those good people at Lionsgate came through for me. And you know what I mean? I've always liked Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson is there's something about Emma Thompson, right? She just comes off as really just nice, right? Her character in Love Actually, you just oh man, that story made me mad sad, right? I just felt so bad for her. You know what I mean? But there's that thing about Emma Thompson, you know, and she always gives us great performances, right? So I'm always down for an Emma Thompson film. So yeah, when I heard about um Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, I was intrigued. I was intrigued, you know? Um and yeah, it's an interesting flick, right? So it is directed by Sophie Hyde. It's written by Katy Brand, and that's the comedian Katy Brand. I did not know that she's got into writing for TV and film, but it looks like she has. Right? It is produced by Adrian Politowisky, Debbie Gray, and it is executive produced by Alison Thompson, Martin Metz, Nessa McGill, Nadia Kamlichi, Sophie Hyde, Mark Guda, Julian Gleek, and Brand. It is associate produced by Sam Cornish. And it is line produced by Kelly Duffel. Okay, Stephen Renix handled the music. Brian Mason did the cinematography and the editing. Amy Hubbard handled the casting. Miran Maranon was production design. Ellie Jones and Simon Walker also did some art direction. Set decoration was Fiona Albro. Costume design was Sean Jenkins. And our cast was a very small cast, right? So we have Emma Thompson as Nancy Stokes, Daryl McCormack as Leo Grande. We have got Isabella Laughlin as Becky. She's a waitress, and the other two waitresses are Karina Lopes and Charlotte Ware. Yeah, as I said, man, it's a short cast. You know what I mean? So the gist of the film is this: Nancy Stokes, a 55-year-old retired widow seeking romance and excitement after a boring marriage. She hires a good looking young sex worker called Leo Grande in the hope of enjoying a night of pleasure and self discovery. So that is the film, you know. Now, I didn't know a lot about the film. As you know, look, I don't do trailers. I don't usually read synopses. You know what I mean? But I'd heard it was, you know, there was like something about sex work in the film. So you're wondering, like, how is this all gonna fit, right? How are they gonna bring this into the story? And pretty much from jump, right, we get into it. When I say we get into it, I mean they meet, right? So there's not any expedition here, right? There's not this whole Nancy. No, we just Nancy's in the hotel, and she's, nervous. She's pacing about, having a drink, trying to get that Dutch courage. And then a knock on the door, clop, 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 clop. Sounded more like horses, right? Clop, 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 clop. No, knock on the door, and there's Leo, right? So he comes in, and they're just talking, and you know what I mean? It's more nerves and all of that. So yeah, straight out the gate, and you're like, okay, all right. So where's this go? Because if they're meeting now, this film is about like an hour and a half. So you know what I mean? How is it gonna be? How they frame it, how they bring us through this story, right? Keeping us engaged. And it's an interesting film. It's an odd film. I liked it. I did like it, right? But it does do that thing, right? It does do that thing. Like other films I've liked, right? Four Weddings and a Funeral, About Time, right? The more modern Richard Curtis, the first Bridget Jones. I enjoyed those films. What they do, though, right? There is a Britishness to them, and I say Britishness because it's like when you speak to like most people from the States, right? You say British, and then people think the Queen, right? Tea drinking, pinky finger out. There's a mannerism, right? There's a way of talking, right? That everyone kind of assumes is British. A bumbling speech kind of pattern, very like, oh, is this, I mean, I'm very sorry. Oh, please excuse me. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm rather flustered here. You know what I mean? Everyone will talk like that, right? And this does do that, right? It does do that. We have Nancy, and yeah, she's all flustered, which, listen, I understand, right? Yeah, it must be an odd thing, right? And when I say it must be an odd thing, I don't mean, seeking sex work is odd in itself, but doing it, right, booking it, right, if you do the escort route rather than, walking down road and, seeing a prostitute and going, hey, let's go, right? Or, even just being them propositioning you and you talking, that feels like it'd be different. But to book someone, you're waiting and then they turn up. Because it's just like, okay, so how do we do this? Do we hug? Right? Do it like, how do we do? Though, I was wondering, right? Because if it's booked online, you kind of feel in these day and ages, in these days and you feel right now in the digital age. Boom, that feels a better sentence, right? You feel right now in the digital age that there would be possibly a checklist, right? It'd be asking questions like, what's your favorite sexual position, right? What do you like in the bedroom? What don't you like in the bedroom? Do you have a safe word? Do you feel comfortable doing this? Do you feel comfortable doing that? Like, you kind of feel there would be that kind of thing, like a questionnaire. So it does kind of alleviate that whole introduction process, because yeah, you'd be like, do we shake hands, do we hug, do we kiss, like, ooh, yeah, what do we do here, right? But yeah, there obviously tangents. No, so yeah, there's this nervousness, right? And as I said, look, I do understand that, but it was played, as I said, that bumbling Britishness way, right? Think Hugh Grant, right? Is in Four Weddings, and it's just like and just a lot of those early Hugh Grant films, you know what I mean? Where everything is a bit like oh no, oh look at me, I'm just I've made a complete Charlie of myself, haven't I? Oh dear, right? It's very played like that. And you know, you do kind of think to yourself, man, people ain't talking like that, right? That's not necessarily how a conversation would go, you know, right? Just all of the ums and ahhings. Now, I will say, right, there may be some stoppings and startings, right, where you're like, so how are we doing this shit? Okay, let's do. Actually, let me have another drink, right? Yeah, let me. Okay, you know what I mean? Actually, should we jump in the shower? Should we do that? Right, I can imagine that, but yeah, just all of that. It did feel this is very much for film, right? This is very much for TV. This is staged. So we'll get that. But even with that, it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? It's not like, ugh, oh, this is tiresome. No, it was fine. It works because you understand what's going on, right? It's this whole kind of exploration. You know, there's this exploration in the film of right who we are. You know what I mean? That's what it felt, right? It's this look at who we are, right? The things that make us us and the things we need in life to be happy. Because there is this reflectiveness, you know. It's Nancy she's kind of having a retrospective look at her life and the things that she did, and she's always like, oh, yeah, and I did things properly, I did things in a correct way, I didn't deviate from this. When she explains how her and her husband have sex, it's just like, yes, it's like this, and boom. And it was like that for 30 odd years, right? And you're just like, yo, there's no deviation? Like, what the fuck, yo? What the fuck? It's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? So there is this, as I said, look, this retrospective look on life and the things that we need, the things that make us happy. And I think there's also this kind of thing where you're like, no, I mean, I did things in this way and I was good. But it's then this realization that not just, oh, I kind of repressed myself, right? But there is this kind of language use kind of thing, because it's the way she talks about her children and the realization through these conversations that maybe that's not the best, right? Because although it's just like, I mean, because it's not like she's saying this stuff to them, but it's that whole thing of, if we feel a certain way about something, even if you're not necessarily saying it to someone, it may come through in your demeanor. It may come through in your actions or, unperceived reactions. You feel me? So there is this whole kind of thing that is crafted, so it's not just, 55-year-old broad decided to get a young buck to knock the cobwebs out. That's not the film, right? The film is a bit deeper than that. And I think that's why you're fine with the odd cadence of the conversation, right? Because I think you understand what is being created in front of you. You know what I mean? Where this journey is possibly taking these characters, and you want to see how is it going to play out, right? How are they going to get to a place of contentment, right? Is there going to be contentment, right? Where do we leave these two characters who one feels very, what would be the word? Like insecure, right? Kind of insecure, Nancy, but also like adrift. I think adrift is probably better because, she's worked, she's had this career, she was married. So it's not like she wasn't happy, but, we have these things that anchor our life. And it feels that Nancy, those anchors, got a bit loose over the years. And eventually, circumstance has now put her adrift. And so she's not quite sure which direction to go in. Where Leo, very confident, right? Very confident, very self assured, understands what he's doing, doesn't seem to have a doubt in the world. Now, obviously, right? We know as viewers, as people that have ingested stories of these different shapes and sizes over the years, we understand just because we meet these characters at these points, that's not going to necessarily be where they are at the end of the film. There's going to be some transformations here. But in what context? How? I mean, the one thing we know that is going to happen is the big statement that, Nancy makes at the start, right? And you just like, okay, right? When someone's just like, just so you know, this has never happened, okay, okay, so at some point it's gonna happen. And when I say some point, at the end, it's gonna happen, right? If you remember a film, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, had Michael Cera, and it had oh my god, Shorty from Four, and then she was in WandaVision. Two broad chicks, two broke chicks, two busted. Yeah, god damn it, she's got kind of browny hair. She's got hair, longish hair, right, and a voice. Fuck, I can't think of Shorty's name, but you know the one. Kat Dennings. Boom, Kat Dennings. Wait, what am I saying? Oh, I have. Oh, Nick and Nora's. I was just like, yo, where did Kat Dennis come from? Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, right? Michael Cera, Kat Dennis, and she says this thing in the film, and then at the very end of the film, it ends with this thing happening, but it felt mad out of place, right? It was just like, that didn't need to happen. Like, what? It does seems odd. Like, just because it was said doesn't mean it has to, you know what I mean? But when this thing is said, it means it's going to happen. And it does, right? That's no spoiler. But I just think it is an interesting journey which we see these characters go on. Right now, with the odd conversational patterns, there does get a bit towards the end where it gets a little like, wait, what is happening here? Because it is a bit like, let us get these things out there, right? Let us bring these characters to this point, right? So it does feel a little bit awkward, right? That we've forced this narrative now, right? So I will say that there is these moments where it feels a little bit forced. Like at the very end with that, well, not at the very end, but towards the end with Becky, right? There is some of that conversation, and you'd be like, would that would that go down like that? Right? Is that happening? You know? When it's just like, oh, yeah, and she did, like, you're just like, I don't know if that's going down, but you know, it all it's all there to serve this purpose of bringing the characters to this place, right? And they do. And then, it finishes with this self discovery, this understanding, right? There's these things that are said at the beginning about the body, about oneself, about feelings. And so it ends in a place that is, it's definitely reflective, but it's, you know, this positive thing. It's this positive thing. So you can see what the film is doing, right? And it does do it. Now, a little bit clunky, right? A little bit forced, but the message is clear. The message is there. And you know, it it does work, right? It does work. So I will say, there are these less than smooth transitions in the film, right? Less than smooth transitions. But overall, the film has got this charm to it. Like Thompson, right? There's a charm to Thompson, and there's a charm to this film. You know, the acting is very solid, right? You believe the interactions, you believe these moments when they're dancing, right? So, as I said, look, there's these awkward parts at the beginning, the flusteredness and all of that, which Thompson plays very well. And McCormack is the confidence exudes. He brings that out, right? Then this playfulness between them when they're dancing, the smiles, everything feels very sincere. They really do capture these interactions. It is, you know, they give us these great performances because at the end of the day, this film is carried on their backs. If they can't deliver, right? If they make it wooden, this film does not work, you know? So even with a few clunky moments in the script, what they bring, they exude these characters. They make you believe in these characters, you know, which is, I mean, it's more than just the framework of the film, right? It's the muscles, it's the sinews, it's everything. And they bring that to life. So hats off to Thompson, hats off to McCormack. They do a great job. And it's because of that which, does leave you smiling about the film. It does make you go, yeah, that was nice. I did enjoy that, you know? So I did enjoy it. Do I, I don't know if it's going in my top 10, right? But it is something I'll be like, yeah, that's nice. And I know people that will very much enjoy this. So I know I can recommend this film to people. And I will say, if you did enjoy Four Weddings, if you did enjoy Bridget Jones, About Time, right? If you did enjoy Notting Hill, you will definitely like it. But then I think if you enjoyed the Before trilogy, if you enjoyed In Search of a Midnight Kiss, you know, if you enjoyed Away We Go, I think you will enjoy this as well. Right? So it's framed around sex work and this interaction, but it does go deeper than that. So, people, If you're a huge Emma Thompson fan and you want to see her do her thing well, then good luck to you. Leo Grande will not disappoint. So it's in cinemas in the UK. It's on Hulu in the States. So there's, we can all enjoy it in whichever fashion we choose. So people, good luck to you. Leo Grande, it's out there, and go have fun with it. Yeah, you're gonna have to book it like a sex worker. But there's no shame in that, people. There's no shame. So go enjoy yourself. A big dose of Leo Grande.